This week on the Late Apex, we talk crypto in sim racing, what is the best ever simulator, and of course the return of Sam versus Tim. Can I get my first victory? Let's find out. Hello and welcome. Well, Sam, crypto, sim racing, NFTs. What a bit of a conundrum and a bit of concoction, collaboration. Can they work together? Well, we've seen a bit of a, obviously the NFTs coming into sim racing. Le Mans Virtual, they released last season different packs that were available. Now, for me, I mean, a bit too young to remember this one. Panini football stickers back in the day, they're almost a little bit like that in the sense of, different clips that are available, unique bespoke clips around certain races or, well, predominantly LMP2, didn't really feature the GTEs. I don't know, is it, I mean, they're available very cheaply, but is it a little bit too soon for sim racing to be delving into that sort of market with these?
Yeah, this was sort of one of the first. I feel like this was near the start of NFTs as well, wasn't it? When Le Mans Virtual were doing this last year, and it didn't exactly cotton on a whole lot. I mean, there haven't been any released this year. There might be some at the end of the season. We'll wait and see, but it hasn't really worked out too well, I believe. And we were looking at like the figures of how many were sold. It wasn't too popular either.
No, and I mean, talking of that also, to expand on it, there's also Simracercoin. Now, it's one of the more minute ones. It's certainly not an Ethereum or a Bitcoin in terms of its value, nowhere near, but it's something a little bit different. And I can't work out whether it's something that's not really going to go anywhere because there's no real need for it around its, what it's claiming for it to be utilised for, or if it's actually a good idea as such.
Yeah, so like just a quick rundown sort of what it's mainly meant to be used for. Earn this sim racing coin by winning events, and then you can use that to pay for maybe coaching sessions or paints or setups perhaps, and maybe even in the future you could pay for it to basically run your own team, Tim, in like a sim racing game. So if you break apart, use some Simracercoin to purchase a new parts, and it's sort of bringing that real life element into it. The problem is, do we want that in the sim racing world? I mean, that's sort of like a negative. If you crash the car and you lose your entire season budget, do we want that translated, or is it nice the fact that we don't have that realistic element?
Rennsport. Now, of course, with their virtual, essentially it's more like a way that if you build a mod, you can earn money from it. However, for me, Sam, I know obviously it's definitely kicked up a lot of fuss within the sim racing, world, is that it screamed NFT, didn't it? The way that it was explained. I think maybe just they went about it the wrong way, to the point of their CEO even came out. That was, of course, Morris Hebecker. Pronounced the name probably horrifically wrong there. Even he came out, and Lewis, producer this, you will need a beep in for this one. It's not a NFT game, to be honest, was his exact words. Yeah, it's a different way of definitely getting paid out for, your hard work and effort in terms of mods. You see, within Automobilista, Assetto Corsa, even R-Factor 2 as well, the amount of mods that are available. But a lot of time, they're just completely free of charge, and a lot of hard work and effort going into those.
It doesn't seem to be like an NFT kind of idea, but it was interesting to see like the reaction to that. It was negative, and I feel like we've learned from that. If a game did come out, if a sim racing game did come out with the idea of NFTs, it would very struggle to get like an initial community, even if the game was very good in other departments. I think the attitude towards NFTs is so negative at the moment that it'd be very tricky for that to break through in the market.
Well, there is a big worry, obviously, with NFTs that they are a bit of a flash in the pan and something that can go. I don't know. Would it work? I mean, well, time will definitely tell. On to the next part. We got thinking in the office, what is the best racing game ever. If you could take the cherry pick the different parts from each different game, what would it look like? And it created a few debates in the office, didn't it, Sam? Of which I've come up with my top picks. Let's see who agrees with them. So we've split them up into different categories. You see behind us, we've got online, sound, graphics, content, and as well as physics as well. And I think, should we get started with some of the, well, I'm going to say what are the more obvious choices, I think, realistically. So, online, first one, we're going to kick off with iRacing. I don't think you could really argue with it. I know that there is the likes of Low Fuel Motorsports, big shout out to those guys, and where they're trying to, well, basically they're trying to recreate the iRacing platform for ACC, which what they already have done for ACC to great success. Some brilliant racing happens on there. I know likes of like Dave Cam's covered it quite a bit. Some of my friends, they regularly race on there. Some great racing and really, really working. But they're also now starting to bridge that across into R Factor 2 as well. But as much as the great work they're doing, it's still emulating what iRacing's done.
Exactly, it's all the blueprint of how you make online racing now. Just the special events, the fact that we get hundreds of entries. I mean, for like 24 hours, you've got thousands of teams entering for races. The fact that it's, you know, racing in so many different categories every couple of hours, even every hour, quite often. So yeah, I don't think that's really much of a question. I mean, I hope you've hired some security, Tim, because as we get further along, they will become more controversial.
I think they're going to be.
That one is.
Yeah.
It's nice, but let us know if you think maybe we've got this wrong. I mean, maybe you think maybe Race Room has maybe caught up in that regard, or any other sims. Do let us know in the comments. But I think that one, I certainly agree with you on that one too.
Sound. Now I'm going to put on my best Italian accent for you, which is going to give this one a priority. Assetto corsa competizione. Thank you, Sam. I mean, for me, one of my favourite cars within it is the previous generation Aston Martin Vantage, the V12. It sounds like an old F1 car. It's that sort of vibes to it. And the way that the sound then echoes off the grandstands as you're heading down the start-finish straight. It's just so visceral. And for me, there's no other game that can compete with it in terms of sound. They've really, really got that on absolutely on the money. Now, into graphics, and something a bit left field here, and I have a feeling this is where it's possibly going to kick off a little bit. Automobilista 2 is what I've gone for. Now, for me, it's, Jimmy Broadbent described it really, really well about, when he did his video on it. It's just so visceral. I talked about Assetto corsa competizione being visceral in terms of sound. This one in terms of the ambient effect, especially when, you turn off all the HUD, do away with all that, so you're like a real racing driver. There's no delta boxes or timing towers, with the standings for over that, or tyre sensors. And you in the dark maybe, or the absolute pouring rain, you've got spray kicking up at you.
Yeah, I think it's a worthy contender. I haven't played too much of AMS2, but I just think ACC is still ahead. I think when I watch ACC, especially the first couple of times I saw an onboard, I was like, this is unreal in terms of like realism. It looks so just picturesque, it looks so like fantastic.
It's just that little bit more. It's just outside the cockpit. That's where AMS2 sort of elevates itself and just gives it that slight edge for me. But I think that's one of the ones we're going to debate about. Probably not, least content being next. Now, I've got a bit left field here, and you're going to see shortly. I've gone for Assetto Corsa, the original version, not a Competizione, obviously, because that is very low on content due to being special game, as we were mentioning previously. Now, the reason why I've gone for this, Sam, is because of two reasons, ultimately. One, it had a decent level of base content anyway, DLC packs as well that came along throughout the way, but then also it's the modability of the game and the raft of and diversity of mods that are available for this sim.
Yeah, I think it's a very good shot. I think you got to go for a sim which has a large modding community in order to go for content, because I want to drive, I don't know, some obscure circuit from the 1960s. You know, like that's like you know, high-end content for me. And so yeah, I think it's a very good shout. My only other contender was maybe like R Factor or R Factor 2, perhaps.
Now, that did cross into my mind, Sam, and it did. But for me, with Assetto Corsa, it's the way that there's been recreations of like real-world roads and that are free to roam. The addition of traffic, Sol, won the bolt-ons for it as well. Again, a mod. The graphic packs as well that you can get, that arguably at times it is incredibly hard to tell, is it real life or is it a game?
The last one, you've spoken a good game, Tim.
Okay, here we go.
I am waiting. Again, I don't have strong opinions on this, I will be clear. I know some people, however, do. And I just want him to be briefed. I think he needs to put together a good argument for the sim that has the best physics. Take it away, Tim.
Wow, this is going to be interesting. And I've gone for iRacing now. Because I can tell, you're already, like, he's twitching his legs. I can feel the anxiety building from sat next to me here. If the double F1 world champion flies home from a race, and one of the first things he does is he gets in his sim rig, and what does he drive? iRacing. That is all the argument that you need.
I mean, Tim, I wasn't sure how good your argument would be. I didn't realise it would be that poor, honestly. I mean, if your whole argument hinges on Max Verstappen, then...
Clearly a Lewis fan, then, I'm guessing.
Let's not go down that road. I iRacing, I think, has good physics, and I think it gets a lot of hate often for, like, a bit unfairly. However, I think the tyres just overwhelmingly mean that I think it should be R Factor. I think R Factor, not only does it have more a more sensible time model, we don't need to go back to Spa 24 hours to see iRacing, how that went, but even just like the features, R Factor, you can have flat spots, for example, which just is not something that we think we'll have on iRacing for absolutely ages.
If the double F1 world champion goes home from a race and jumps straight in his sim rig and goes on iRacing, you can't argue with that one, surely, can you?
You underestimate a lot of people there, Tim. A lot of people will argue with this one. Let us know in the comments what you think to these ratings. Do you agree with online sound, graphics, content, and physics? Is there a category you think maybe we missed? What is your favourite sim racing game? Do let us know. But don't bully Tim too much. I mean, let's not
I'm
go
big
down
and
that.
I'm big and ugly enough. Definitely, well, definitely the latter. Most certainly. I'd love to hear your thoughts of how much you agree or certainly disagree with myself on those. But we're going to head to a quick break now. We'll see you on the other side for Sam versus Tim and a look at the week ahead on Apex Racing TV. Hello and welcome back, and you can see we're not in the studio, are we? That's right, we're down in the Apex Racing Sim Centre. You see lovely behind us all the rigs for this week's Sam versus Tim, and I've not done so well this week so far, have I? Is it redemption?
Perhaps so. We've changed the games slightly, haven't we? We're not in the studio, we're down here. Maybe this could be the turnaround. Maybe we could be having 4-1 after today. I'm sort of hoping for that, Tim. Let's see if it happens.
Well, let's find out. As this week, a little bit of a change, as Sam mentioned. We'll be driving around Knock Hill, but with a little bit of a twist to the tail on that one. We'll be driving in reverse. That's right, reverse gear the whole way around from a standing start. Who's going to come out on top? Now, as you know, starting from a standing start, somebody's got to be on pole. I think there's only one way to settle this, Sam.
Yeah,
Good old
the
rock,
classic.
paper, scissors, shoot. You ready?
Okay, here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, you win. You're on pole then.
5-0 in that case. That was the real game, guys. No, I don't think that's an advantage whatsoever.
Or is it?
Let's see. Maybe. But I know it's, I guess, the start that I wanted. So I think let's get into it.
Oh, definitely. Here we go. Well, we're now on the rigs. We're on the grid. We need to turn around. Sam, are you ready for this one?
Here we go. I have never been more ready for anything in my life, Tim.
I've never been more nervous for a race. Oh, round. Oh, no, it's a bit too far.
This is absolutely...
Oh, yeah, some of the lead!
Already going.
I'm
Oh
off!
my God, I'm so far behind already. It's an absolutely dreadful start.
Now, this is going to be the tricky part. Coming across the chicane. Oh, no, on the grass.
He's off.
No.
I can
no.
see he's got trouble. I feel like I'm a bit faster than Tim right here. But
There we go.
I am catching him up. This is on, guys. We're halfway through the lap, but I've only got a couple more corners, and the slipstream is not going to be advantageous.
Could this be my first victory of the season? We've got one corner to go to head down the railway straight. This is a tricky one. Off elevation change. Whoa!
He's intercepted him.
No!
Could this be it?
Where is he?
cannot-
There he is!
Oh no!
Oh, he's in the wall again!
Oh no!
I need to concentrate.
I've done the hard work, but he's still going to do it.
I've done a thing. I've actually won for the first time this
my
season.
goodness
Come
me.
on. Welcome back, and wow, how happy am I to finally get off the mark. He didn't stand a chance. Got away at the start, and bye, Sam. Bye.
Yeah.
I found my foot, my little, meaning in life, driving reverse around circuits on Sims. Forget the rest of it. Yeah, anagrams, track pictures, rubbish at those. Just give me an MX5 or Miata, depending on what side of the pond you're from. Drive it in reverse around Knock Hill.
Yeah, my start wasn't good.
What were you doing? Because you went
I
forward
don't
and then
know
you just
what I
came
was
straight
doing,
back
Tim.
again, and then forward back, and then you eventually realised, and that was it.
But let's suspect my missile attacks.
yes.
I mean, absolutely, I could not believe. I mean, considering that, if I was doing that forwards, I would struggle. But I absolutely turned the wheel at the
You did.
perfect time.
I mean, 10
hit
out of
you.
10 for nearly killing me.
Yeah, but I didn't put you off course enough. I needed to spin you. If I hit the back of your car, maybe you would have rotated a bit more around. It didn't happen.
But what a fun combo that was.
That was, yeah.
And well worth giving it a go at home. Love to know how you get on in the comments. But let's take a little look at what's happening this week here on Apex Racing TV. Busy week as always. Monday night, of course, it's Ripmitech Sprint Series. Wednesday, it's the Norges Camp. I can never say that correctly. Master Cup even, sorry, they're in the Porsches. Friday, Radicals, that kick-starts the weekend before Saturday. As always, it is a Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 VR Super Series here from the studio with myself and Sam. For the evening, we've got Formula Renault 3.5, and then Sunday, it's the usual big grid, big action, evening of events to finish off the weekend. We've got the SRF Weekend Warriors and IGP Fun F3. But Sam, what's your pick of the bunch for this week?
Well, I think out of those iRacing events that we are broadcasting this week, I think iRacing Israel is going to be one of the best. Not on next round is on the 24th, so not on the 17th, but is on the 24th. We've had a brilliant season so far, Tim. Changed from the GT4s into the F4s for this season, as the championship always does. And Reuven Chachashvili able to take the first couple of wins of the season. He is the defending champion. He's actually a two-time champion in the series, in fact, which is particularly impressive considering the range of cars which have been used over time. But Bathurst was quite an event last week. It was super competitive. We had Tabashnik making contact with Chachishvili and Malkov at the chase on lap 1 in race 1. That took the top 3 out. It left Levy and Yaron a strong advantage in that race, only for them to make contact after a 10-minute long battle at Quarry Bend midway through the race. John Chico was able to take the lead. He started from 19th on the grid, but unfortunately he then made a mistake at the final corner, and that just left Michael Sherling, to take the win by 0.02 of a second. It was nearly brought back right at the end, but Sherling managed to hold on. Papichado was top in the AMS. In race 2, it wasn't quite the same. Kane had dominated after an early crash, which took many of the contenders out. Chachishvili able to get back to second place despite having a damaged front wing for the entire event, and was able to get enough points to lead the championship by 26 points after 2 meetings ahead of Tal Stern and Michael Sherling. Really Sir in the head of the AMS, narrowly ahead of Bertie Galili and Aidan Scher in 3rd position. So the next round of the championship, Tim, is heading to Sulkaba. Now, that's not... it's a weird one. I don't think of that as a race circuit, to be honest, at this point. I think of that as a hot lap circuit because we visit it so rarely now.
I covered this series with Dane Baird, who's regular commentator on this series. A couple of seasons ago, they're in the touring cars, and my golly, these guys know how to get their elbows out. They leave nothing on the track whatsoever. It's absolutely just wall-to-wall action, excitement, drama. Can't quite do that as much in an open-wheel Formula car that there's the, well, not allowed to call it the F4. It's the IR04. Oh, that's basically the F4. Don't tell anyone that for naming rights. So you can't have so much, contact. Yes, you can bang wheels a little bit, but it has to be direct contact wheel to wheel. Otherwise, it just ends in disaster for you. So, I mean, having seen back the footage, though, as you say, Bathurst was just, just crazy.
I mean, we quite like it. I mean, it's quite unusual when you have like a race where like the race leader makes a mistake. We had 2 occasions of that. The first one involved 3 drivers. The second one involved 2 drivers. Apologies, 3 times, because then the new race leader also made a mistake. So we had 3 different.
It was literally like nobody wanted to lead the race,
exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and they are usually the most fun that we see. So it's honestly one of the best races I think to watch of the week. Just 20 minutes long races, race 1 and then race 2. Race 2 has a reverse grid. So do make sure to check that one out. Next round is on the 24th of October. So do tune in for that one. And then it's fortnightly, so we have a fair few break weeks, but every 2 weeks the series is on. And there's still plenty left of the championship to go. So we'll see if Reuven Chachishvili can take the title for the 2nd season in a row.
Definitely going to be interesting to see if he can pick up another championship to his name. Well, that's all we've got time for this week on the Late Apex. You can also head across to share your stories and any ideas of crazy games you want myself and Sam to participate in our Discord. All the information of how to head across to that is down below. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all of that jazz. And we'll see you in a week's time on the Late Apex. I've been Tim Cox with Sam Fitzpatrick, who lost this week. Good night.